Julian here from WSOU, joined by a legend, Max Cavalera. You just put out a re-recording of Schizophrenia. You've got the Cavalera Third War Trilogy Tour with support from Necrot and Dead Heat kicking off tomorrow. How's it going, man?
Going great, man. Just get excited for the tour, Been we've been rehearsing. We just got back from Australia and Japan, so we are on it, man. It's gonna be awesome. I'm super pumped to start the year with the brutal. I call it brutal nostalgia. Because it's brutal, but it's also nostalgic at the same time.
Yeah. And that tour is going to be stopping here in Brooklyn at Warsaw March 13th. You're joined by Necrot and Dead Heat. Is there anything that you're expecting or anticipating about this tour?
Man, I think it's the set just feels amazing. It's just so great to play all those death thrash songs the way they supposed to sound. We played them a little faster than the records, so everything is turned to 11, as they say. And yeah, it's just super exciting and energetic. Of course, we're gonna throw in a couple surprises in the end. I don't want to spoil, but there is gonna be some deep cuts. People can expect that. But we're playing the whole Schizophrenia, man. That on itself, it's pretty amazing because I always liked that record. I thought that was a very underrated album. Most people talk about Beneath the Remains and Arise, but I think Schizophrenia is as far as like the death thrash thing, it's right there, and we're playing the whole thing. So yeah, it's a super energetic show, and it's cool for people that never seen this before. We have a lot of young fans that knows about this era, um, but never got a chance to see it live. Then they have a chance to see it now, with a killer lineup, with me and my brother, and then also Igor. Amadeus and Travis, man, with like they bring like the young new blood to the table, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And re-recording Morbid Visions and Schizophrenia, I think that they're a great way not only to hear and appreciate the record better, but like you said, for the younger Sepultura and Cavalera fans, it's a way for them to spend that time with an album they're not too familiar with. Is there anything that you would say to a fan before they visit the re-recording, something you would want them to consider holding their mind as they listen to them?
No, man, it's really cool. It's like I think it's a bit of a curiosity. Like these re-recordings is the way we envision them in the first place. We never got to do it because we didn't have good studios or good equipment, and we didn't have in like all the basic necessities to make a good record back in those days. There's a certain charm to the original, and I love the originals, don't get me wrong. But if you really want to feel the way we wanted them to sound, is the re-recordings. You can hear every riff, you can hear the drums, you can hear the vocals drenched in reverb, like if I was singing and screaming in a cave. It has that. It has all the things that we were hoped for, and we didn't get to achieve them back in the 80s. We had a chance to redo them. So it's like putting a turbo engine on an old Chevrolet from the 50s. It sounds killer, man, because we didn't change the songs. The songs are great. It doesn't need to change the arrangements. We played them exactly how they were, just a little bit faster with a little bit more attitude, and that was it. So I think for the fans, just go experiment, man. Dive in, enjoy it. It was an awesome era in metal, the middle of the 80s to the late 80s, and that's the time those records were made. You get to enjoy them now, man. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect way to describe it, like an old car with a brand new fast engine. And that album saw you and Sepultura use some darker black metal death thrash elements. And I heard in another interview that you were tape trading with Chuck from Death, a really influential band. Are there any other bands you can name that you think really influenced Schizophrenia at the time?
Yeah, I mean, Schizophrenia was done in a, we were coming out of Morbid Visions where we full on um drenched in the whole, mostly a lot of European black metal, stuff like Hellhammer, Celtic Frost, Battery, um, like a lot of Venom and Schizophrenia. We start to listen to a little bit of thrash as well, the early thrash, Exodus, Sacrifice, Dark Angel. So I think and hardcore. We're also starting to some of the hardcore, old COC and Discharge. I think all of those elements were big, for us, big influence on this record. Even the name Schizophrenia, I think I borrow from a hardcore band from Finland called Ristetit. I think they had a record called Schizophrenia, and I just like, that sounds cool. I'm gonna use that, So yeah, man, it's cool. I love the influence of the era. And I was always fascinated by the mixing of black death thrash. I think those three, they go great together. It's like if you just use a little bit of each, it sounds so killer, man, because you got best of both worlds. You got the kind of like the technique of the thrash, because you gotta be, you know, put kind of on your or top of your game to play those triplets, those fast thrash riffs. But then you got the brutality of the black metal, the rawness, the necro sound, um, together with a little bit of the hardcore punk attitude. You get those records, especially Schizophrenia.
Yeah, for sure. And looking back to your metal beginnings, can you tell me where exactly your first introduction to metal was? And also another question, what was your first ever guitar?
Right. So my first introduction to metal, as far as like, I don't know if you can consider Queen metal, but I saw Queen in Brazil in '81, and that kind of opened the doors for me becoming a rock and roller. Um, but we're listening to a lot of like AC/DC, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Sabbath, of course. As time went by, we kind of wanted heavier, and we wanted to find something heavier than AC/DC and heavier than the Maiden. So then we discovered Motorhead. Man, Motorhead was like a game changer. It's like, whoa, this is unhinged, man. Lemmy's vocals, and then from Motorhead, it opened the floodgates with Slayer, Venom, Battery, Merciful Fate, Voivod, where I'm wearing right now, Yeah, so I still listen to the same shit I did back in '83, uh, and then my first guitar was, yeah, I nicknamed it the Rotten Podrera because it was just a piece of rot, man, like it was a bad guitar. Like yeah, I used to like slit the on the neck. I'll go like this, and like pieces of wood would like get on my finger and start bleeding. The finger was just lethal, man. But yeah, it was cool to have a first guitar. I sold it, man, and it sucks. I tried to buy it back. The guy would not sell it back to me. He wants to keep it as, it's cool. It's in good hands though. I know it's a Brazilian friend of mine that has it, but I wish I had it just to, like, give it to my kids or something.
Yeah, that's really cool. And this Cavalera tour starts and ends in Arizona, beginning in Cottonwood and ending in Phoenix. pretty sure you lived in Arizona since the early 90s. Being from Brazil, what made you decide to settle there?
Um, it wasn't really I didn't pick it. This is where everybody was from the crew, Gloria, everybody kind of lived here. And I came here a couple times and I kind of fell in love with the desert. I really like the desert a lot, you know. Especially like Phoenix kind of reminds me actually of my hometown in Brazil called Belo Horizonte. It's because it's in a valley. So I like automatically like related to it's like, oh, this is cool. Has a vibe of my town in Brazil. And then you have a lot of like a lot of the desert vibes and all of that, like just the mystery of the desert has something that is really attracted to me. I really like it a lot, you know. So when I'm not touring, I always come back here. You know, we have two houses. We have a house in the town and one in the desert. It's really chill, man. It's really peaceful, quiet. It's the opposite of touring. So yeah, I love it here, man. I love the vibe. I love um the quietness of it. And you know, I've been here for like close to 30 years now. It's really cool. It's a cool town for sure. But I spend most of the time on the road, as you know. But but yeah, Phoenix is a great town, man. It's really the shows are awesome here too. We have some really good shows.
Yeah, that's cool. And then I've always found it pretty interesting that you're from Arizona, but you root for the Detroit Lions. Why did you decide to start rooting for them?
Well, I had to pick like a underdog, you know. So like it was about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. Um, I like the Cardinals, they're from here, but I wanted to have my own team that I follow and you know, I become like obsessed with. Um, so out of the blue, I'm a Leo, you know, by sign. So Lions, Leo, and then I heard they were the worst team in the league at that time, and I was like, yeah, let's go with these guys, man. That sounds cool. I didn't know anything about no Barry Sanders or Megatron, you know. I didn't know. I learned all that later. Um, yeah, so I stick with them for 10 years and it's finally good now. You know, they're finally doing better now than they ever did. But yeah, it's cool. I got to visit the stadium. We have some friends that works for them. I got to do a tour of Ford Field. Yeah, I fell in love with American football because I always was a big soccer fan. Still am, you know, Brazil and all that. But American football, it really, I really became addicted. I do fantasy. I want to actually do next year. I'm gonna try to do a fantasy with metalheads, man, with like a bunch of musicians. So, you know, like just find a bunch of guys that like football, and then we can do like a fantasy league of crazy musicians. It'd be pretty cool.
That'd be cool, like a super group fantasy league.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Awesome. And like you said, you were in Australia playing some shows in Japan last month. Any takeaways from that tour? Anything crazy happen? And do you think there's a real major difference in the atmosphere and the audience when you're playing on these different continents?
Oh yeah, man, Australia was great. Like I love going there. The crowds are amazing. We got to go to Tasmania actually for the first time. uh, which I'd never been all those years of going to Australia. We never been to Tasmania, and we finally made it there. It's the city called Hobart. We had a day off there. It was freaking beautiful, man. It's like forest, jungle, like really the wildlife is out of control. Awesome. And yeah, the shows were all killer. And then we went to Japan. We did two shows in Japan with some really cool bands, SOB and Psy and Melt Banana. And yeah, it was great. The crowd went crazy. But that's we on those tours was actually the older set list, which is the Third World Trilogy one, and it was more based on Morbid Visions. This one we're doing now is more based on schizophrenia. So that's why I'm really excited for this tour because it's got more, you know, it's centered more on schizophrenia, we're still playing stuff out of Morbid Vision and Bachelor Devastation, but the bulk of the show is Schizophrenia, and I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, and then is there any specific reason that you chose Necrot and Dead Heat as support on this tour? And are there any other younger bands out there that you really dig and would love to tour with?
Oh yeah, I love the scene, man. We I'm really into a lot of the newer stuff coming up. We tour with a lot of these bands already, 200 Stab Wounds, Body Box. There's a lot of stuff that I listen to, rather either Vomit Fort or Suga Bob or whatever. But I think like for this tour, Necro that hits seem perfect. I love Necro. I love the first record and the latest one, uh, Drill the Skull. Like that was my favorite song. It's like this is so hard. It's a hard song, man. And that he's got that trash vibe, so it's perfect for this tour. I think hopefully they'll bring a lot of the younger, fans that are into the whole new wave of death metal going on right now in here in the States. And yeah, we just keep pushing forward. One thing I always will do is give a chance, a platform to younger bands because that's cool. That's the metal way. It's always should be like that. No matter how big you get, you should always give somebody a hand, give somebody a chance. And I think Dead Heat and Necrot are the ones for this run. I'm super excited. Gonna watch them a lot, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be awesome, and looking forward to touring with more uh, of these new upcoming bands in the future as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's so great to give those smaller bands that platform. I remember when you were back here in Jersey with Soulfly about a year or two ago, one of my buddies' local bands opened Hosticide, and they were great. So you've been part of
And
so many tours.
we also do locals. Locals get you open the shows as well, So Necro Dahid are the main support, but there's always local bands opening for as in a lot of the cities, so that's cool too.
Yeah, for sure. And then you've been part of so many tours, so many festivals throughout your career. And then last year, you and Soulfly were part of the Lamb of God Headbangers boat, the Metal Cruise. Is that the first time that you've been a part of something like that? And what can you tell me about that experience?
Yeah, so I did the 70,000 tons of metal with Soulfly and Return to Roots. And then we did the Lambo Gobbo, which was great. It was an awesome experience. A lot of great guys, bunch of cool bands. Got to hang out with a bunch of like fellow musicians that I admire. We had a panel there with Jose from Liquid Metal, and with Gary Holt and um, a bunch of other. It was just a cool time in the sea. I love doing that kind of stuff, man. Um, we got a couple of festivals lined up already for the summer for Soulfly, for Nailbomb, hopefully for Cavalera as well. So yeah, I know that we're doing Sonic Tempo also, so that should be really cool this year. So I'm excited. I like those festivals. I like any chance you get to do something a little bit different. It's cool. I think it just shows that metal is getting more popular, and that's cool, man. That's cool for everybody. I think it helps everybody.
Of course, yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see. And then you mentioned Nailbomb. Back in November, you played the Max Cavalera Dynasty show featuring Insight, Go Ahead and Die, Soulfly, and Nailbomb. And that was the third Nailbomb set ever. What can we expect from Nailbomb in the future?
Well, we're doing a short run in Europe. I think it's 15 festivals. Walk-in is one of them. A lot of those kind of like established European festivals. Yeah, the set's cool. Like I love the record. I think Point Blank was an outstanding kind of just a pissed off record full of heavy riffs and crazy machinery, industrial. I don't even know what it is. I just love it, you know. And we got to assemble. The cool thing about Nailbomb, you can always change the lineup, make it different all the time, and so we're gonna actually kind of like do that from time to time. So I'm looking forward. There's nothing so far right now, nothing scheduled for America as yet, but yeah, we'll see what happens. That's one of those records that I think has aged really well. It's like that record right now is more relevant now than even when we made it. If you listen to uh all the all the all the tracks of 24 Hour Bull, Word of Sick Life, it's happening right now, so Nailbomb is like perfect. So I'm really excited to bring that to Europe.
Absolutely, and that Point Blank, one of my favorite records of all time, especially
Yeah,
relevant now. Would love to see that come to the U.S. And have you kept up with Alex Newport at all?
I haven't, in a long time. I have not talked to Alex in a long time, but um, it's great. I love Alex. I respect his decision of not wanting to be part of it. It's funny because he talks to my wife all the time, Gloria, and he told her that he was too happy to do nail bomb right now, and I was like, that's cool.
That's
I
fair.
respect I respect that. But I'm still angry, so I'm gonna do nail bomb, man.
Yeah, and do you have any track in particular that's your favorite from Nailbomb?
Yeah, I like Vaitomanuku is the second track.
Yeah.
It's it's got the helmet riff, man. Um, the lyrics are sick. Yeah, that's one of my favorites to play live. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, definitely love that track. And are there any songs that you can think of throughout all your projects that don't get the recognition you feel like they deserve? I know in another interview you had a similar question and you said Bleak by Soulfly was a riff you didn't think get appreciated enough.
Yeah, that kind of flew undetected, man. It was like one of those very underrated songs. I think Bleak's one of them. I think Worlds Come Out of Enslave is like that. It's a killer death metal track with guest vocals by Travis from Cattle Decapitation. And I think like some old Sepultura stuff like that too. I think like Sarcastic Existence is like that, and Subtraction never got big, but that maybe we can hear some of that on this tour. Let's see.
Yeah, and then I also hear that you're working on some new material. Could you let us in on some details? And is it material for Soulfly, Cavalera, Go Ahead and Die, or maybe something different?
So yeah, right now just working, trying to get a new Soulfly record going. But it's still early. We don't. I'm sorry, I cannot give you any updates. It's really early in the game, but that will be a new Soulfly sometime this year.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see that. And we're running a little bit short on time here, but I want to thank you again so much for your time. Is there anything you want to leave off with for the listeners?
Now, thank you guys, man. The WSOU, you always been great. You guys support the hell out of us, and you support metal. I appreciate you guys, man. And we'll see you in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'll be there 100%. Thank you, Max.
All right.
Take it
Take
easy.
care, brother. Yeah.